been in situations like this before, specifically situations that had no protocol. You do what comes naturally to you, rallying your crew together and ordering them to follow you after the anomaly. Some of the other captains bark after you, but you cut them off, instructing them to secure the area with their own divers and to evaluate the damages caused by the creature. Your crew is brave. They follow you without hesitation, a dangerous quality in reckless hands. You stared at the void for a moment before leading your crew downwards. You made it to the bottom of the cliff, which eventually became a slant of sand and protruding rock. Let's do that again. The large plateau that housed the Circle Plateau village suddenly gave way beneath you. You stared at the void for a moment before leading your crew downwards. You made it to the bottom of the cliff, which eventually became a slant of sand and protruding rock. This was the untouched ground which led downwards into the area known as the Longest Drink. It was a several 100-foot decline, and normally a sub would have been used to transport personnel. However, these were special circumstances. It wasn't every day that the unknown reared its head in your face, asking you to chase it into the deep. How far would you take them, your crew, down? Fear and its consequences had numbed you into so many dangers. It seemed ordinary to be surrounded by them. Would you allow others to face the brunt of your numbness? Your past so complicated and your future somewhere between the broken parts of a water purifier and an abyss you couldn't see clearly into. You all continued to make the slow descent, your brights on full power as you investigate your surroundings. Occasionally, an odd-looking fish would swim past you, some with large, black eyes, others decorated by neon-like spindles or striped fins. The world was foreign, just as you were to it. One of your divers called out over the intercom, "I saw something, 11 o'clock, straight on." Everyone stopped and watched the blackness, their feet barely dusting the top of the side of the hill you'd been swimming down. You asked him what he saw exactly.
"I thought I saw a fin, movement, in the dark,"
was the reply. Another soldier chuckled.
"Spooked by a fish?"
More chuckling rang out over the radio intercom. You quieted everyone. Were they stupid for making so much noise? The sound of moving sand rustled from behind you and the other weavers. You were sure of it. Something was moving around you, circling you. You made the order to take up arms, but it was a moment too late. Something flew out from the darkness, surprisingly quick for something so massive. The anomaly. It was a large, slug-looking thing, with a decently long neck that led to a rounded head with a maw and jagged teeth that stuck out. Several divers took out their knives to defend their crewmate, as it was too close to shoot at with their laser drills. You quickly surveyed the area, making sure there were no other creatures around, and then you took out your knife to try to assist in the rescue as well. It wasn't behaving like other sea predators, quickly striking and then swimming off, only to return and strike again. When it swam out from the darkness, it had chosen a target and was relentless in attacking him. The poor target of a diver screamed as he stabbed at the creature, who was now trying to wrap its hulking body around him, using its base, which appeared textured and slimy with mucus, to attach itself. The crew members grabbed at its convulsing body and two large muscular fins, trying to keep it from suctioning itself to their comrade. You cut at its face, trying to find sensitive areas like eyes, before realizing there were no eyes on its head, just 3 sharp ridges. Its neck whirled around as it snapped at its attackers, changing its attention from the diver to the rest of you. Making some room for itself as it fended you off, it pushed against the water with its fins and flew above you, disappearing into the darkness. You all quickly looked up and around you, trying to find it. Occasionally, One or two of you would catch glimpses of its shape as it sped through the water, appearing in one area, going out of sight, and then lingering in another. It was circling again. You ordered to retreat in a tight circle formation. This time with your laser drills drawn and at the ready, you slowly made your way back, one crewman helping the other who had been attacked. You weren't sure if he was physically hurt or mentally shutting down. Both were likely. You were able to run diagnostics on the suits of your crew and could not see any malfunction in the suit of the injured crewman. It had done its job and protected him, though it was in need of repairs. There were a few other suits that had various bits and pieces missing, but no emergencies for now. The creature had retreated into the shadows, but you remained alert and ready. You ordered another Weaver crew member to radio for immediate evacuation and for medical to prep. You hoped that if you continued to back off from the creature, it would feel less territorial towards you. Granted, you had no idea if this had anything to do with being territorial, but you hoped. Your hope was met by the creature's face slowly emerging from the darkness, its large body following. Your crew readied their weapons, but you ordered them to halt. They were shocked. You thought to yourself, something was off. It wasn't behaving like it was before. No circling, no swift movement, no targeting. Just for a moment, you watched, you waited, you stared at it, and though it had no eyes of its own, it felt like your gazes met. And then you were somewhere else. You saw your home. It was a small house in Swarwick. You were back in Lottie. How? Before you could focus too much on anything else, you were looking down at the coast of Lottie. It was only a few hours from your home. You had taken several visits there when your siblings were still alive. It was beautiful. It had been so long since you'd seen the gray cliffs and rock-studded beaches of your youth, the bent trees still standing despite the wind. Time suddenly shifted, and the close-up of your beloved beaches became much farther away, as if you were sitting on clouds and looking down at a world spinning faster and faster. Time was moving so quickly, and with it, Lottie. Your country was building. It was becoming bigger. It pushed against the coast. Soon the trees were gone from the cliffs, and all that remained were those bent trees surviving because they had picked the most difficult place to live. But they were left alone, and so the difficulty was worth it. The towering heaps of metal, adorned with crowns of smoke, became Lottie's wealth. Industry, conveyor belts, whistles blowing and bells chiming as workers came and left from their posts. And then suddenly, you were falling thousands of feet, speeding towards the ocean off of Lottie's coast. You panicked, screaming as you were about to hit the surface of the water, but the impact was like falling through air. And your world, unrecognizable and upside down, it felt as if you were rising as you descended headfirst into the pitch black. You continued to feel as though you were floating upwards, though the more you went, the less you could see of yourself. Your body gently faded into black. And then, there in the distance, unseen eyelids opened, revealing giant, glowing yellow eyes. There were many of them, and every single one of them was fixated on you. The thrumming sound of a submarine could be heard in the distance, but you were paralyzed by what you were seeing. Somewhere outside of all of this, you could hear someone yelling, "Come on, wake up! Wake up, Captain!" Your eyes open, and you gasp for air. Sitting up in the medical bed you didn't remember being put in. Several personnel run to your side, keeping you stable, and gently guiding you back down to your bed. They look at your screens. They make sure your IV is still in place. You realize that there are small electrodes stuck to your head. You try not to panic. You ask where you are, if your crew members are safe, and why you're here. The doctors say that it's been 4 hours since your exploration, and you suddenly became unconscious while waiting to be evacuated. Immediately after falling unconscious, you began convulsing, and you were brought to the E1 medical bay. They said something about irregular brain activity, other things about varying vitals, and how your crew members were all doing well, some laughing off the experience, others contemplative and curious. The comment, or rather the question, that suddenly brought you into focus again, with the world around you, is the one that one of the doctors asked. Did anything happen to you while you were unconscious? Do you remember anything? Do you tell the doctors about what you saw, or do you keep it a secret?